Welcome, everyone, to It's Time to Excel. It's hard to believe Wednesday is all back around here again, but sure enough, here we are. And I'm so looking forward to kind of just asking you a question today. If life throws you a curveball, how do you respond? Do you swing and miss, or do you hit a home run? Think about it. You have a baseball game going on. How often do those curveballs come across that home plate? Many batters will swing, many batters will connect, many batters will swing and miss. And the same exact thing happens when it comes to your business. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, thank you so much for everyone that has opted to come and join us live for It's Time to Excel, where we inspire and we ignite the possibilities that are around us and ignite the possibilities that actually work for both your personal and your business life, especially when it comes to money management issues. So, today we were talking about that. You got that. You've gone to this baseball game and you see these batters going up to the plate, just like as a business owner. You go up to the plate. And I don't know about you, but very often life throws us that curveball. Very often things don't quite go as planned. And when we're talking about those things, think about it. Equipment breaks. You may even be dealing with it. You have the best laid plan for that day, and all of a sudden you wake up and your child's sick. As a small business owner, that's one of the perks of having your own business, is that you have some flexibility. Of course, that flexibility, it's flexible. It doesn't mean that you get to not be able to do it. So there's some pluses and minuses, and Winston agrees as well. Sometimes life throws you a little curveball. And when you're dealing with this and you're owning your own business, you're juggling so many things. You are juggling trying to make sure you're talking to new leads, to make sure you have leads coming in. You are trying to make sure that you're following up with clients. You are trying to balance making sure that you get client work done. And all around that, you need to make sure your invoicing is kept up to date. You need to make sure your expenses are tracked so you know what's going on. Oh my goodness. And the list goes on and on. And so very often you've got the best laid plans that kind of get up in a topsy-turvy type lane. It just happens. They go topsy-turvy on you. And my question to you is, when that happens, do you respond or do you react? Think about it. Is there really a difference between responding and reacting? I think there is. And when you're thinking about that, there was a quote that's out of my book. And in fact, it's in this section that's called Respond, Don't React. The quickest way to double your money is to fold it in half and put it back in your pocket. And that's a quote from Will Rogers. It was a great way to kind of kick off the chapter of talking about responding and reacting when life throws you those curveballs. And in business, it's going to happen all the time. And those curveballs are going to be there. And if you think about it, it's just part of life. And unfortunately, what happens when you get into these curveball situations, all of a sudden, your expenses tend to get a little out of control. It happens, especially if you're not ready for them. And too often, as many Americans, those are 50% of Americans spend more than they make. And now on top of that, you've got some unplanned for expense that you now have to deal with because things didn't quite work out as planned. You got a curveball. You got a curveball. And thinking about that, what can we do? I don't particularly like to swing and miss. Not sure about you, but I prefer not to swing and miss. I prefer to connect with that ball and hit that home run. And there are things that you can do. You really can. There are things that you can actually put into place to make it more likely that when you get that curveball, you'll connect with that ball and hit that home run. You heard Winston pop it into there before. That's our new puppy that is here. And he's a little live wire. Him and our older one just have an absolutely wonderful time chewing on each other. I do think they were just live chew toys. And that's just part of it. But think about it. You have a new puppy. And you walk in the house, and they are so excited to see you. The only problem is on their way to see you, they bump into the table, and they knock a lamp over and it shatters into 1,000 pieces. You can respond or you can react. What are you going to do? Probably depends on the day. But if you react, you're probably going to be flipping out, spazzing out, which, okay, I get, it's a real frustration type thing. Or can you take a pause and take a breath and respond to the situation and realize he's just coming to say hi? It wasn't intentional. You still got a mess to clean up, but how you clean up that mess depends on you. That choice is what you have. Just like when it comes to money management, you have a choice on how you respond to the situation at hand. You have a choice on how you respond to that curveball that got sent your way. And it's up to you. And think about naturally in your personal and your business life, how you react or respond is probably mirrored in one another. What happens if you get cut off on the highway? Do you wave and say hi, or do you wave slightly differently? Not quite as friendly as hi, bless your heart kind of a deal. Which way do you go? What happens if you're going to go into a parking space and you end up getting cut off by somebody? I don't know about you, but strong-willed kids tend to challenge every single boundary that you put out there. Little things like that. And I know that these things probably hit home, and I know that many of you are going to have many more experiences just like that. And life does throw those curveballs. What are your first thoughts? How do you respond? What are you thinking first? Do you respond? Do you react? Chaos is part of life, and we know that. It absolutely. As I said, when you're in business, equipment breaks. Team may miss deadlines. You may miss deadlines. Technology may fail. Had that little fun entertainment yesterday. My internet decided that it no longer needed to work. And rebooting the router right here at the house didn't work either. Of course, my phone didn't want to cooperate either. So no, I couldn't even go to plan B, which is logging on my phone to continue the conversation that I was having. Now I couldn't even dial out. It was great. Technology was not my friend yesterday. And if you're in business, I suspect you run into, especially in this last year, it's taught us technology can fail. And technology can really be frustrating when it does. But once again, you have a choice. Do you respond? Do you react? Eventually, I was finally able to get the phone called in. Had to call Spectrum to have them reboot it from their side. So a couple hours later, I finally got internet back up and running. It was great. But, par for the course. It is what it is. But I did the best I could with the situation I had at hand. And I had a choice. I could get spazzed out, flipped out, and really be annoyed. Or eventually, when I got the internet back up and running, simply sent an email, explained what had happened, and asked if there's anything else I needed to follow up with. And we just rescheduled for the next. You know what? Life happens. Curveballs happen. Just like that puppy. It takes training. It takes time. It takes repetition. Same exact thing in business. It takes time. It takes repetition. And you got to train yourself half the time when it comes to thinking about how this works. So what am I talking about? What can we do to kind of mitigate some of those reactions and make them more of a response as curveballs? So let's shift this over. We know that life throws us curveballs, but let's think about it. When those curveballs hit, money's usually involved because there's usually some extra expenses that you were not planning for. Are you ready for those extra expenses? That computer broke. Do you have funds in the bank to be able to replace it? You have taxes that are due. That's not really an unheard of thing because last time I checked, taxes are usually due consistently. But all too often, as a business owner, you feel like they crept up on you. And all of a sudden, you got to pay these taxes and you don't know where the money's coming from. Why not? You knew it was coming. So what can you do? How can you be proactive? How can you respond to that situation instead of reacting? And it boils down to this. When you actually know exactly what your money is coming in and your money is going out, and you're disciplining yourself, you've trained yourself to make sure you're looking at those numbers each and every month at a minimum. Do recommend eyeballing it at least once a week, but really diving into it once a month, you actually can start to plan ahead and be proactive. So you, when something like your equipment breaks, you don't have to react. You can simply respond because you know what? The money is sitting in your bank account because you have been proactively putting just a little bit of that income aside into an emergency fund. Dave Ramsey he talks about making sure you have an emergency fund set up. At least $1,000 set aside to get started with according to his baby steps. And then ultimately 3 to 6 months of expenses put back. It takes time sometimes, but you can get there. And if you're proactively thinking about it and you are proactively taking, it's so much easier. If you get $100 in, could you not put $5 off to the side and put it into that rainy day fund? So that when life throws you that curveball, it's okay because there's money there to help and make it not seem so frustrating when those curveballs hit. Wouldn't it be nice just to stroke the check out of the account to replace the computer because you knew eventually in 2 years it was probably going to die anyway? So why not take 2 years and split over the cost of that computer? Maybe it's only 20 or 30 bucks here and there, not necessarily. 20 bucks each and every month, whatever it ends up being. You got to figure that out, see how much it runs, and then divide that out over to what you estimate. If you don't make the full 2 years and you don't have it completely back, if it was 18 months and you had 3/4 of that being able to pay for that because you set aside and you were proactively determining that you were going to set money aside for things that were going to happen, you could write the check out and not worry about it. And those are the things you're doing. And that also wraps us into our budget. So if we are actually looking at what money is coming in, what money is going out, what we think money is coming in, what we think money is going out, that's all a budget is. The budget is just a 4-letter word. It is simply a plan. At the beginning of the month, you want to be making sure that you're looking and trying to figure out what you think is going to happen. At the end of the month, after you've tracked everything, you got to see what is going on and what actually happened. Where's the hole? What hasn't quite worked out as planned? What changes do you need to make? What did work? Got to keep moving on doing that again. But by looking at that information and consistently looking at that information, you can make educated decisions and you take it one step further because part of your budget, part of that plan is to allocate funds as it comes in to items such as replacement, the emergency funds, into a savings for when those curveballs hit. If you do it little by little, just like eating an elephant, it is so much easier to eat the elephant one bite at a time. And that's exactly how you do it. You take one step at a time. It starts by making sure that you know exactly what income's coming in, what expenses are going out. It starts by making sure you know those numbers. Once you know them, now let's look at them and let's figure out exactly. You don't have to take a lot of time, but you got to take consistent time. Plan each month to spend an hour on your books. Plan 1 hour to make sure that you know what those numbers are so that you can make educated, proactive decisions going forward. By doing that, when life throws you curveballs, it's not a big deal. Yeah, you may miss once in a while, but I can guarantee you, if you're planning and you're actually taking the time to know these numbers and you're proactively putting money aside, when those curveballs hit, you can swing and you will connect and you will hit that home run. And that's what I want to encourage you today to do. I want to encourage you to make sure you are setting yourself up and your business up for success. And it starts with the foundation as far as when it comes to your money. You need to build yourself a solid foundation around your money. Make sure you have a good system in place. And a system simply is something to save yourself time, energy, and money. That's a system. And that's what I want to make sure you have in place. If you have a good system in place to streamline the process, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be craziness. And if that's still, and you need some assistance with that, reach out. That's what I enjoy doing, is making sure that system is up and running for you. Simply go out to chatwithjanet.com, book a call. Let's have a conversation around making sure that you have those systems in place so that as the curveballs come your way, you're ready for them. You are prepared for them, and you are ready to hit that home run going forward. I know you can do it. There's support out there for you. I would love to actually be that support for you. If you have questions on that and want to just do a virtual coffee, feel free. Go ahead and jump out there to chat with Janet, and let's have a conversation around it. Let's make sure you have a solid foundation in your business so that going forward, you are more than ready to hit those home runs in your business. Thank you so very much for joining us, and I hopefully gave you some food for thought, because the bottom line is it's up to you. It is your choice to respond or to react, and especially when it comes to money, because money doesn't spend itself. Thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you here next week on It's Time to Excel, where we inspire and we ignite the possibilities. So be sure to go ahead and mark in the replay as you've joined us. Those that have joined us live, thank you so very much. I'm so grateful for your support, and I hope that you enjoyed this edition and got you maybe thinking on how you can be better prepared for the curveballs when they come. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and we'll see you guys next week.